The what?
Pappy 10.
Never heard of it.
Neither. Dude, I want to find the Pappy Rye. It's expensive as shit if you get it aftermarket.
I've never. Well, the Antioch Liquors was the only place I've ever seen the Pappy Rye in person.
I had never seen a bottle before until Antioch Liquors. Yeah.
But I mean, like the only ryes that Buffalo Trace distills are E.H. Taylor and Pappy.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but everything aftermarket is expensive as shit.
Not everything. You can get some.
Well, we just need the economy to crash so no one can buy bourbon anymore.
We're close.
And then
We're close. We are very close.
We're getting there. The Dow was down 1,000 points yesterday. The S&P was down like 20% yesterday. It's fine. We're getting there. That's fine.
A podcast about bourbon and the ones who drink it. This is Bourbon Matters. Welcome to Bourbon Matters. I'm Jake.
I'm Dan.
And I am Pappy PDL.
And we are saying goodbye to Roberto's last, at least in-person episode.
I don't ever like to say goodbye. I like to say get the fuck out.
Get the fuck out. That's a Skid Row song too, man. I'm from the 80s. That was Skid Row. They have a song called Get the Fuck Out.
So,
I'm leaving at some point. Why are you kicking me out? Why are you being an asshole about kicking me out?
Because you're wearing a mellow corn hat.
Yeah, you're wearing a mellow corn hat, and I gave you Pappy for your final episode.
That is contract.
Hold on.
So,
final episode in person. You're going to
person.
continue to be with us, but you're going to be via Zoom, and you're going to look like an idiot like always, and we'll be fine.
And your voice is going to be all distorted and shit. And we're probably just going to mute you anyway.
Could we have done that to like the last like 40 episodes? It just hit a mute button.
Yeah. You could have, yeah.
I like that. Now I can't hear him at all. He's swearing at me like a shit ton right now.
Fucking damn. It is. Is it my last? I guess it is my last in-person episode. God damn.
Yeah.
Well, that's good though. But I'll join via Zoom.
We are drinking the Old Van Winkle.
Old Rip Van Winkle.
Old Rip Van Winkle.
What?
Oh my God. Old Rip Van Winkle.
There it is.
10-year.
Shit.
Clocking in at a solid 107 proof.
Yeah, it is.
This is a sour mash too.
It is.
With the Buffalo Trace weeded.
Isn't Old
mash.
Pappy sour mash?
Yeah, and this is the general weeded mash bill from Buffalo Trace. Also Pappy 12 mash bill and all the other Pappies.
And the
all the
Wellers.
Wellers.
Yeah.
And the Wellers, yeah.
And the Elmer Tilly.
I've had this bottle for almost a year from people I didn't enjoy, and this was a great reason to get rid of the bottle.
Where'd you get it? I don't even remember.
You got it for what year?
My 10-year work anniversary
Yeah.
before that company and me decided that it was.
And they gave you that? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how much did they pay for it?
Over 1,000.
And I got mine from Benny's for 90.
For retail, yeah. I got mine from Sam at 500.
And the funny thing was when I opened this, me and the person I opened it with drank about half of it the first night.
Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Good for you, man.
This is a fantastic whiskey.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. No, it was, for me, this has kind of been like a fuck you. I'm going to drink this whiskey. I don't care how much you spend on me.
Yeah.
I'm going to drink it.
Well, you get it for free, so.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a great. I mean, Pappy 10 is one of my all-time favorites because there's a lot to say about it, right? I mean, especially if you go to Buffalo Trace and hear the history and go to the warehouse where Pappy actually is warehoused, which is warehouse C?
No,
H.
H.
I think it's H.
C
Is
was
it?
the tornado one.
C is the
H,
tornado.
H is the Pappies.
Yep.
If you go to that warehouse, you see the history, you see where everything's warehouse, you see the steam pipes that run through the warehouse. I mean, it's just amazing. It's easy to say, oh, Pappy, and I don't know what happened downstairs, but something's happening. There's a party downstairs.
The dogs are screaming or something.
Is it?
Everyone's happy that Roberto's leaving. Like, let's just be honest.
Everybody's excited. They even put charcuterie and everything downstairs for me, which is it's great. Anyway, it's easy to say, oh, Pappy, because he has a nice enigma to it.
Well, it's easily the hardest thing to get.
It's hard again.
And whether it's a 10, 12, 15, or 20,
23.
23, yeah.
It's the most prestigious name in bourbon.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
It's I think probably designed that way.
Right.
Well, I don't think it was back in the day. It's
No,
just,
not back in the day, but
Like-
they absolutely made it hard to get. They probably don't release as much as they probably are able to. I think you think about Weller 12 and Pappy 12, it's basically the same thing.
Right.
They could release either as, whichever one.
Yeah.
But I mean, Weller 12 was like kind of available when it came out, as long as you were in the right place at the right time.
Right.
But like Pappy 12, it's like,
Yeah.
the end of the year, maybe they decide to give out bottles of it, and who knows when it was actually released through the distributors,
Yeah.
it's like a lottery system in most
In
places.
a lot
And
of
like,
states, it is. Yeah. You get the Pappy lottery.
so it's just,
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. I mean,
you want to have maybe one day we'll do a Pappy 12 versus Weller 12 and see which one's actually better.
See how it goes.
Because it's the same,
mash.
it's the same exact mash bill. So
It's the same mash and same age statement. So I don't know. I don't know how that works out.
just warehouse location at that point, I think.
I mean, I have both, and they taste very different. The
yeah,
Pappy,
they do taste.
They
a lot.
do.
The Pappy
Yeah.
12 tastes. It's superior.
Pappy 12 is so much smoother than
It's
Pappy.
superior.
in my
the
opinion, the
12,
Pappy
yeah.
12 doesn't taste like a wheated bourbon,
No,
It does not. No. Yeah, I completely agree.
but the Weller 12 does.
Weller 12, you can tell it's a wheated bourbon.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, check your pluses and minuses and whatever columns you
Right.
want there, but
Yeah, I mean it's a good story. It's the Van Winkle family still owns the rights to Pappy Van Winkle, so Buffalo Trace technically contracts Van Winkle family contracts with Buffalo Trace to make their Pappies, but they own the brand. I mean the Van Winkle family still owns the brand, the rights, and everything.
and they
to
make
it.
damn good cigars.
And they make some really
make
good
them-
cigars.
and they used to own so much more.
They
Yes.
did, yeah.
'Cause
Now
they-
Sazerac owns a lot.
But no, like even like weren't they Old Fitz originally? Wasn't that
I don't know
originally?
if the Van Winkle family owned Old Fitzgerald.
Not owned, but I think they made that mash bill and then
maybe,
Old Fitz.
maybe.
I don't.
I was
think
reading
so.
a book about Pappy, and
I thought they owned the Weller.
no.
I don't know. Actually, I don't know.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. If you watch Neat,
Because Old
documentary-
Fitzgerald is Heaven Hill.
right. If you watch the documentary Neat, they go into some of that. Because they interview the Van Winkle.
I gotta
family.
borrow that book from you, by the way.
Yeah. It's a great story. I mean, Red Van
Because
Winkle.
they had to sell some stuff off back in the day, and I think one of them might have been Old Fitz, and they're not happy.
I thought it was
Stitzel Weller.
Stitzel Weller.
Stitzel
Yeah.
Weller.
But that's a Buffalo Trace,
Right.
whatever.
Not
the
fully.
antique collection release, right?
Not fully. Stitzel Weller, because Stitzel Weller is what's the one with the key on it? Not Castle and Key, but what's the Blade and Bow is a Stitzel Weller company.
Oh, interesting.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I didn't know that.
I'll look it up. You
But
guys-
the Van Winkle family has the recipe or something, right?
They have
or
the
something
rights
like
and
that.
the recipe, and they still give it to Buffalo Trace.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. I mean,
It's a weird situation.
They do well. They do.
it was all back in Prohibition times. I'm just gonna accept
That's
all
when
this.
everybody got like screwed over.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that'd be cool. Can you imagine walking into a bar and like, hey, I'm Johnny Van Winkle.
What's the guy's name? Julian, right?
Julian.
Yeah.
Is
the new guy? Yeah.
The
He's
great grandson?
Yeah, he's the current head of Van Winkle.
Yeah.
he is the grandson of Pappy.
And then the remaining Van Winkles are all women, right? I think he had 3 daughters.
maybe.
And they're the ones that run the like Pappy and Co., which
Yeah.
do the cigars and the like drinkware and all
And they
that
license,
stuff.
and they're the ones that license the name.
They're
think so.
Blade and Bow. They're IW Harper. They do a lot of the Orphan barrels.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Oh, they do Orphan Barrel?
yeah.
Damn.
Huh, that's
them.
interesting. Okay.
I swear, I thought it was Old Fitz or something. There's definitely an old brand from Stitzel Weller that it was a Pappy Pappy recipe, but they sold
Interesting.
it off. I remember reading that, but
Yeah.
Maybe it is Fitzgerald then.
Maybe. Yeah.
but yeah. So Roberto,
Dan will just have to actually pay attention when he reads a book, and
I
then
know.
we'd actually have
Or
these facts.
watch a
books
documentary.
are books are so dumb.
Dan prides himself on knowing everything when he researches. and
Books are so dumb.
he-
Reading is
apparently
so
He
overrated.
don't know how to research anything. The Google machine.
Yeah, so we wanted to talk about our podcast journey a little bit.
And our whiskey journey with Roberto.
Yeah, so I mean, let's talk about the overall journey, because I mean the podcast journey fits into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dan and Roberto, you guys have known each other longer than I've known
Yep.
Roberto.
Yeah.
Because you guys lived in the same.
The same
We've
apartment.
known each other
complex.
since I moved out here.
2011.
12.
No, actually.
12.
Yeah.
I moved out in 2012.
Yeah.
We met that spring or summer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you were around for a few years and moved to Texas. Good riddance.
2016. So yeah, we hung out for a good 4 years.
And we stayed in touch a little bit, but not like
too
we
much,
weren't
yeah.
we weren't close friends, but a couple times a year we'd send a message.
Yeah, you would send us Christmas cards every year.
Yeah, because I'm a good friend.
You are a good
You're
friend.
a shit friend.
Well, we don't do Christmas cards.
And so Roberto moved to Texas for work.
Moved to Texas for work 2016. We did, again, we kept in touch like a couple times a year when Dan would tag us on Facebook for a memory or something. And Dan was really good about sending us, again, Christmas cards every Christmas. I think every year, you and Yuki, we got a card from Dan. Yuki's Dan's dog.
Yeah.
Anyway, so 2021, Allstate moved me yet again to somewhere else, back to Chicago. It was, I think we posted something on Facebook that says like, oh, we're back in Chicagoland. And Dan, like 5 minutes later, text me and Lindsay. Is like, hey, you
What the
guys-
fuck? You didn't?
Yeah.
You moved back and didn't tell me?
You didn't say anything, and you didn't tell me you moved back.
See, the one was a good friend that sent Christmas cards. The other one's put a social media post that they now live 30 minutes from me and didn't bother to tell me.
Yeah. And it was so, Dan's like, hey, do you want to do dinner tomorrow? It was like, we moved in on a Friday. And Dan's like, you want to do dinner on Saturday? And we did. Saturday, sure enough, we went to have sushi and started to hang out. And I think that's how, everything snowballed from there.
Yeah, and then I think Dan, heard that you worked for Allstate.
Well,
and,
he worked for Allstate since I knew him.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
the whole time.
You
yeah,
worked
yeah.
there for like 20-some years, didn't
17.
you? 17?
years, yeah.
So, and my wife Jenna, who also runs our social media,
Yep.
also worked for
Yep.
she still does work for
yeah.
Allstate. And Dan was like, "Hey, do you know Jenna Ray?"
Yeah.
And I think you said that you had heard of her,
Yeah,
or
like,
that
yeah.
you were aware that she existed,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
So Dan texted me and was like, "Hey, would you and Jenna want to go meet our friends Roberto and Lindsay from
Yeah.
the old apartment thing?"
Arbor Lake.
And I was like,
I met Jenna at that apartment complex.
"Yeah,
She moved in after Roberto had moved away.
right, yeah."
Yep.
So yeah, you guys never actually met.
No. Yeah. No.
But yeah, so Dan texted me and was like, "Oh, like this guy, might know Jenna from work and like blah blah." I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Yeah, if you really want to hang out, like that's fine."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, he has an entire he has a massive bourbon collection."
Yeah, he didn't have a room back then. It was
And
just
it
all
wasn't
on the floor.
it wasn't yet.
He wasn't there
But he
yet,
was like, "Yeah, he has like 200 bottles of bourbon." And I was like, "Okay, I'm in."
Okay, let's go meet him.
So we went to your house.
Yeah.
We met for the first time.
Like on a Saturday or something, we hung out.
Yeah, it was like a
Yeah.
Friday or Saturday, and we were just hanging out, and you took us through and like showed us. I mean, a lot of your stuff was in boxes still
It was
because
still
you
in
just
boxes.
moved
We
in.
just moved in, yeah.
But like you had your like 20 bottles of Eagle Rare and like the Magnum bottle, and I was like, oh shit. And
all the Weller 12s that I had at that point.
yeah, and you had E.H. Taylor and E.H. Taylor rye
Yeah.
out unpacked somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I saw those and I was like, oh damn, like that was stuff like I
Yeah.
mean, like this was at the point where I was drinking like Elijah Craig
Yeah.
and like Basil Hayden. And like those were I was like
Yeah.
thought were like the top notch whiskeys I'd ever have in my life. And you were like, "Oh, let's open the E.H. Taylor Rye," and I was like,
We did open it that night.
I was like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna argue with that. and
And it was phenomenal.
that's what I tried that, and I was hooked.
Yeah, that was
That
a
was
fun night.
when we were driving home. I was like still awestruck. I just like looked back at Dan, and I was like, I think I had a religious experience drinking that. I was like, it was
And it's funny how it snowballed from there. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
And so you had been back a little bit, and me and Jake had been into bourbon, but again, not the scale you had been into bourbon.
Well, I was pretty new too.
Yeah, but
mean, I
you
was-
had way
I
more.
Well, I
was
mean,
like a
because
year
when did you go to Kentucky?
It was March 2020, so it was like I was like
A
a year in.
year-ish, yeah.
And that's when I started. You know, I met a guy in Dallas that would hook me up with some really good bottles. He gave me the Pappy.
Yeah.
And so that's when I came to.
I mean, that was
Illinois.
mostly during COVID, right?
Yeah.
So
And that's how when we moved to Illinois, like January 2021, that's why I showed up with everything that I showed up with, because I met a guy in Dallas.
yeah.
That would give me the E.H. Taylors. That's when I showed up with the Weller collection with a full proof. with
And
the
you know
CYPB
that honestly, it's like when a lot of people got into it
Yeah.
was during
during the COVID.
the lockdowns and stuff. Was
Yep, that's exactly right.
people didn't have anything better to do, so they just go look
let's
for
go taste some
whiskey,
whiskey.
and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, so we all of us started to hang out a little bit, and then like my first, like Jake had his religious experience that night.
yeah, for sure.
I had gone out to one restaurant bar that used to have Elmer Tilly, and they were out.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a bartender there, and they recommended another restaurant that had really good bourbon.
Yeah.
And so then I called Roberto. I said, "Hey, I hear this place called Consume in Lake Zurich has."
It was like the second time we hung out.
Yeah,
since
I'm
we
like,
were
they
there.
have like really good whiskey and bourbon. We should go there. So me, you, and your wife met up for lunch or dinner.
It was dinner. Yeah, it
Dinner.
was like somewhere in between actually.
Yeah, it was a weird time.
Yeah, it was like one of those like 3 p.m. times. Yeah.
And we went in there, and they had basically the entire Pappy collection up. They had Stag Senior
And
they,
Wellers. They had a bunch of Wellers.
the top Wellers.
Yeah.
And we sat down. We ordered some food, and we're like, "Well, we're here.
Yeah.
They have Pappy 12. We got to try Pappy 12." And you had a bottle,
I hadn't opened it yet. Yeah.
and you
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
you
yeah.
didn't plan on opening it at that time.
None at that time.
Yeah,
no.
because you told us that you had one. You're like, I'm never gonna open it.
Yeah.
It's just gonna sit there.
Yeah.
Because I mean, this is at the time when it was going for
find it.
like $1,000.
Yeah.
You couldn't find it
couldn't find it,
anywhere.
yeah.
Now it's at like 2,000, if not higher.
Yeah.
So you know that
You
that
still
is
can't
what
find
it
it.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you still can't find it. So
Yeah.
But we ordered the Pappy 12, and they came. They put the tray down, and I will never forget when they put the tray down, and you didn't have to nose the glass. You could nose the air, and you smelt it.
Yeah, you know exactly what it was. Yeah.
And it was one of those religious experiences. Me and Roberto gave it a little quick cheers.
Oh yeah.
We both took our first sip, which normally was going to shock the palate. And that first sip hit you, and you're like, dear sweet baby Jesus.
I mean, this is something else. Yeah.
It-
Pappy 12 is something else.
I remember
Yeah.
after Roberto took his second sip, he's like, well, I'm going to open my bottle
Yeah.
now. Like,
Yeah.
that's-
And we did like 2 weeks after.
It-
well, that was I
We
mean
invited
because
Jake
me
to
and
dinner.
Dan went back to consume. I
Yeah.
think the next.
I think probably the next week we went back.
Yeah, if not sooner, because we went back because Dan was like, "Holy shit, this is fantastic! Like, we need to go try it." And I was like, "I'm, whenever you're ready,
Yeah.
I'll go." And so yeah, me and Dan went. That was when my allergies were like horrible. So like I really couldn't smell anything. So like I was smelling it, and Dan was like, "This smells so good," and I was like, "Yeah,
Like, I
I
don't know
can't
what's
smell
going
shit." But I tried it, and it was like, I mean, that was one of the first whiskeys that truly tasted like there was absolutely no alcohol in it
Yeah, I know.
whatsoever.
It's just pure flavor. Pure flavor.
The smoothest whiskey
yeah.
I had tasted at that point in my life.
Completely
Probably
agree.
still.
Such a fantastic like vanilla and like
Completely agree.
Not like
It is
hard,
very vanilla.
not hard oak, but like there's a little bit of oak in there and the caramel
Yeah.
and it's like the
know how to
quintessential
describe.
bourbon turned up to 11.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe Pappy 12. Vanilla is a good way to say it because it's very vanilla.
yeah.
It's leathery. It's not like too
But
much. oak.
it's not like
It's not woody.
but like even when you hold it up like
Right.
to the light, it's not a dark
It's not very
whiskey.
copper or anything, right.
It's just so good.
Yeah.
It's got a spicy smell to it, but there's no
Yeah.
spice. Like
No, you don't
lingering
take
on
the
a palate.
spice. There's no spice in the taste.
Yeah,
That's
not at
right.
all.
I mean, it tastes like a syrup. It tastes like you're
Yeah.
drinking like maple syrup.
But yeah, I mean, I was
Yeah.
floored for the first time. Dan was floored for the
Yeah.
second time. And then he was like, yeah, so Roberto said he's going to open his bottle. And
then
I
we
was
did.
like, ooh, yeah.
And we did.
Yeah, we did that night,
Yeah.
about a week later, I think.
Yeah.
So that was the opening of the original bourbon room.
That's when we
Yeah, that's right. That's when you
we
opened the
christened
bourbon room.
The bourbon room,
Yeah.
which right now it's full of boxes, but that's fine. We already found the space in the new house in San Antonio for the bourbon room, which is cool. I enjoy that bourbon room, because Lindsay and I would just go and sip some whiskey there on Friday night, which was really cool. We got the shelves for all the bourbon because I think at some point it was 210 bottles, which was
And you got your cool O'Hare plane
we
lights.
got the O'Hare cargo sign from an actual Chicago O'Hare runway lights and the sign. That was great.
And you got a bunch of cool like whiskey memorabilia in there.
And so we go antiquing a lot, and that's where I found a lot of those old bottles like Scotch and bourbon cases and boxes and bottles too.
Yeah, we got you a nice barrel topper. It's a fake one, but it's
But it's still really nice. And
It's
that
nice.
was one of the all right, I think this is gonna be a good friendship. It was like, I mean, not even like a couple of months.
He didn't care about you as a person, but when we gave him a
Yeah.
barrel topper, he did.
That's when he started opening up the Sam Houston 15 to me.
Yeah.
And
Like, all right, fine, you can get into the Elmer.
yeah.
Really nice blends. I mean, you're right. I mean, like you said, it's not the topper from a.
It's not a real
but
topper,
really
but
nice.
it's
beautiful.
nice looking
And it looks
and
nice
yeah.
on the wall too. It looks beautiful on the wall. So that's a great. It was a great bourbon room. We'll try to replicate that at some point in San Antonio. But it's just again when we opened the Pappy, that was great. When we just had a really nice time
Yeah, that was fun.
sipping on the Pappy, and that was great.
And we tried all kinds of other stuff
And we
too.
tried everything else.
I think we
too.
tried Calumet 14, 15.
Yes, we did.
I think we tried some Elmer.
You
And we
did
tried
make a
some-
mistake that night.
You did?
You did
I did. What did I do? I forget. I make mistakes in life.
every second. Not that it was like a big mistake, but there were people there that weren't big into whiskey.
Yeah, that's true.
And you gave them Pappy 12, and they're like, "Oh, this is an okay whiskey."
Yeah,
and it
Yeah.
was, it's
You're
like,
like,
"Can I have that ounce and a half back, please?"
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, it's
you
like,
don't
You just spit
Uh,
deserve.
it back, please, into the
Yeah,
bottle.
that was the only part I felt bad about because you were so generous and just poured every that was in the room.
It's that's what it's for.
Yeah.
That's what whiskey's for.
Yeah. I when I started like hoarding things,
Yeah.
like to be honest, like
Yeah, I mean,
I started
yes.
like really trying to get like and like I went like all in because I
Yeah.
started trying to get all the really hard to find stuff.
Yeah.
And I was under the like thought process of like, well, I'm only gonna drink this like a couple
Right.
times and like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna share with people. It's gonna be for me and like
Yeah.
blah blah blah, and then like after you had opened your Pappy 12, I was like, well, at the end of the day, like
You just gotta drink it.
this
with
is
peace.
for drinking.
Yeah.
Like you
With your
need to
friends.
share it.
Yeah.
Like so like at my 30th birthday, I opened my Pappy 12 and we all tried it. Like when we have our first kid, I think I'm gonna open the Pappy 12. I might kill the
Yeah.
Pappy 12. But like,
You're
like
gonna drink it in 1 week.
it's a like it's something that you like in my opinion, whiskey is something you should be like celebrating
drinking it,
with and sharing with people. Like whenever like
100%.
my friends come in from like out of town that like haven't seen in a while, like I don't give them Basil Hayden. I'm like, let's
you
open,
open the good
let's
shit.
open the Heaven Hill bottled
exactly
and
what I
bond.
do.
Let's open something good. Let's
Exactly what I
let's
do.
dive into some good stuff because like I'm not gonna see you all the time. So like let's do something fun.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, there's no comparison, really. Like, there's no comparison drinking something good by yourself or with like 5 people that you see twice a year.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, holy shit, let's have a good time.
And like at the end of the day, a bottle's really only good
Right.
for like 2 years after you open it. So you gotta drink it anyway.
You gotta drink it anyway.
Like,
Absolutely. Yeah,
make it worthwhile. Drink it with people that you care about.
Yeah.
You know?
A quick story on the Pappy 12, actually, that I still have like an eighth of a bottle or something from the same bottle.
Yeah.
But anyway, so my brother came to, he came to see me with his kids in June last year, 2021. And we had a great time. I took him to all over the city and everything. And one night we grilled out, and I told him this is the night when we're gonna sit down and have really good whiskey. And my brother loves whiskey, and so we're drunk as shit at this point. Like, we've been drinking for like 4 hours, and my brother grabs the Pappy 12, grabs a glass, from the shelf, and he goes and just starts pouring it down. And he has about, like, if you can imagine, if you can see on YouTube, he has about a third of the glass filled with Pappy 12. And do I get mad? No. That's exactly what it's there for.
Yeah.
That's, for family, for friends, have a great time. You know what? If you appreciate it, that's it. All I ask for.
Yeah.
And if
Do
you
I,
don't-
do I want some random ass person drinking my Pappy 12?
No,
Not particularly.
No, exactly.
But
I
like
see my brother twice
my
a
brother,
year. Right.
my best friends.
Exactly.
Like
I see my brother twice a year. Go nuts. You're gonna enjoy it, and he did. He enjoyed the fuck out of that.
Oh
glass.
yeah.
And I told him, because Lindsay's like, "Oh my god, he took all your Pappy." I'm like, "Who gives a shit?" I see him twice a year. Have a good time.
It's said best in the neat documentary by Freddie Johnson, the guy from Buffalo Trace. Great storyteller in the
Yeah,
documentary.
he is. He's a great guy.
And like the thing that'll stick with me most, and me and my dad watched it together, which was a cool experience. And my dad's an older guy, so he really loved Freddie Johnson's stories.
I mean, my dad is an older guy.
but
How old's your dad?
70.
My dad's 81, so yeah, no, you're fine.
Yeah. Freddie Johnson said, like, he had brought, he works at Buffalo Trace. He's a third generation Buffalo Trace employee.
He's a master distiller at Buffalo Trace.
Yeah. Him and his dad and his brother were over. And he tells a story of how he had a bottle of Pappy 12 and he opened it and he poured everybody a drink, him and his dad and his brother. And he put the cap on it and he put it back. And his dad said, "Why are you doing that?" And he's like, "Well, it's not easy to get. It's a really hard to find bottle, even though I work at Buffalo."
Yeah.
And his dad said, "You never put the top in a bottle when you're drinking whiskey with people that you love.
Let them pour it. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
and he goes on to say that's the last time all 3 of them were able to drink together.
Yeah.
Because shortly after his dad and his brother died.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's
And it's like that story kind of runs chills, but
yeah, it
it's
really
like
is.
whiskey. I talk about it a lot. We all talk about it a lot. Whiskey is a story. It takes a long time to make. It has a lot of history behind it. And that's what good whiskey is for.
Yeah. That's exactly what it's for.
It makes good stories
To
too.
drink it. Yeah.
It makes good stories. And you know what? Even though Roberto's here, we're still drinking Pappy with people that we kind of love.
Pappy time. No, but it's true. Though. It really is. I'm enjoying this because we've had even though I got to go back to Texas, it's been a hell of a freaking year. We started this podcast like in March, maybe
Oh, January.
January.
Yeah.
Was it January?
January.
Yeah.
I think we're probably really close to being 10 months in by the time this airs.
And we've gained 700 followers on Instagram.
Oh, by the time this airs, we'll be over 700. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, like, we've
If we could hit 1,000 in 1 year, I would. That's a tough
progress,
ask,
man.
but that's a fairly good. From
yeah, I
0
mean,
to
we've
1,000.
been grinding
Yeah, we have.
hard.
Jenna Ray's
Jenna
been
has
grinding
been
hard.
Yeah,
grinding,
my wife Jenna has done such a good job.
Yeah, she has.
Doing the social media because I absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
I think we all
easy.
do.
It's not easy to maintain a social account.
You know, she's done all the like research into it and figured out when you're supposed to post things and how often and like all that stuff, and it's phenomenal.
Good metrics. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we're picking up.
So it's like 10 followers.
I mean,
a day,
we've been
which is
like,
great.
we're probably near exponential growth
We're close.
since
We're
the
getting
start,
there.
which is fantastic.
Yeah, we're close.
You know, so a huge shout out to everyone that's followed, shared, pushed this on their friends, forced their friends to listen to us. It's fantastic, you know.
Yeah, but we're way outside the friend zone, you know. What I mean? Like you probably brought in 10 friends. You brought in maybe 12. I brought in like another 15.
2 or 3.
Yeah, exactly. So we're way outside of the friend bringing to the account, which is great.
Yeah.
Because now, to your point, we're reaching that point where it's almost exponential growth and not just incremental.
Yeah.
Where like, okay, people are starting to see the value in this, which is great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it really is.
It makes it
in the camera and everything.
Yeah, like we like doing this just as like a hobby.
Yeah.
But you know, seeing the support I think makes it
And the
even more
interaction,
worthwhile.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I've
people
said it
interact with
before,
the
like
content.
I'd love a little bit of shit talking every once in a while. You know, we're not always correct.
No, we
But,
don't,
I
we have
am,
no clue
but
what
you
we're
guys
saying. We have zero clue what we're saying anyway, so that's fine.
But I mean, you know, it's awesome that we've made it this far.
In such a short time too.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
seriously, if it was just January of this year, that's 9 months.
yeah.
Which is good. So all of that to say that, you know, again, life takes its course at some point. You know, I got to go back to Antonio, and we'll do this. I'll do it over Zoom, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's not the same. It really isn't.
Yeah, your voice will be all distorted.
Yeah, it'll be.
You might just drop connection every once in a while when Dan feels like muting you, but
put a
whatever.
South African.
What
South
button here?
African accent
Can we
in there.
mark that button with an X on it so I know right here?
Yeah. But you know, again, it's been a good ride so far, and it'll continue to be. I mean, this is not over by any means.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna be right in the neighborhood of the fourth dram and goal guys.
Yep.
So that'll only strengthen our relationship, I think, which is awesome. Those guys have
That's
a
gonna be
great
cool.
show.
They put in a
You know,
good podcast,
if you're into sports, those guys,
Yep.
you know, talk all the football and all that shit. You
Yeah, they
know,
put in
we're
good
we're not really sports people, but
I hope they both have fun.
yeah, I mean they drink,
Yeah, they do.
you know,
Heavily.
heavily.
Which is good.
They drink a lot more than we do on the show.
Yeah, they do. We'll go up and drink.
But I mean, they
6 hours now.
typically, I think, find really affordable and findable bourbons. So if you're looking for
Yeah, they
that,
do.
go check them out. Again, that's Fourth Dram and Goal.
Great podcast.
Great guys. They're hilarious.
Super funny guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a question. I want to ask Roberto. I got an answer in my mind. What do you think the quintessential moment of our relationship between the three of us started at? Like, where do you think our relationship and our hobby of our bourbon hobby turned more into a bourbon lifestyle happened?
Oh, interesting. Holy shit. I don't know.
I got a couple ideas. I want to get your guys' ideas first.
I know what mine is.
All right. So, you know, I think when, you know, again, that night that we talked about when we came over and we the bourbon room wasn't even a thing. We sat down by the island, by the bar.
I think me and Dan both looked at that sunroom and we're like, this should be your bourbon room.
Yeah.
And you were like,
Which we
oh,
already had a plan
that's a good
for.
idea.
He had a napkin sketch of
We
it.
did.
already.
Yeah, yeah.
And it
Oh,
changed
yeah,
a
that's
lot
true.
because you had a bar in there and you changed.
Yeah,
it.
and I never got the bar. I just got the shelves because I ran out of space. I don't know. I think, you know, and you're referring specifically about the three of us for the whiskey, like the whiskey journey that we've been on. I would say that night was probably one of them that sparked in the genesis of all of it, which was, again, we're just sitting around the island. drinking some really good whiskey and just hanging out. And then freaking Jake started like hoarding whiskey out of his ass, and then sharing it, which is it's fun. I gotta say, I tell Lindsay all the time, like, man, that's good that you find somebody that can, it's into whiskey and actually shares the whiskey, because a lot of people don't. A lot of people just want to get it for their collection or for their shelf. So I think when we started doing that, that's probably when the genesis of the whiskey bourbon matters relationship started.
Jake, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I for probably since like 2019, I had the idea of starting a podcast. And I had gone through multiple different iterations, like, I want to do a music podcast. I want to do a movie podcast. Or like, I want to do whatever. And then, we went out with Roberto, and I was like, oh, well, I like whiskey. Maybe that would be a good one. Yeah. And then, I got really into it, like you said. And then, I mean, it was probably around Christmas time of 2020, I think, that I was like, we should do a bourbon podcast.
Yeah.
And then I pitched it to you guys, and I think Roberto was like 100% all in.
Oh yeah,
and Dan was like, "Well, I don't know.
I hate doing
maybe."
That's how Dan.
And Dan kept delaying, and finally, I was like, "I have all the equipment. Just show up at my house.
Well, you gotta just show up, and
we'll record it, and we'll see how it goes." And then from there, it was like everyone was in. Everyone was good to go. Yeah.
I love both of those moments. I'm gonna say the moment that changed for me when it became more of just a hobby to a lifestyle and a passion. Jake, sorry you weren't there the first time.
Oh, Sam.
Oh yeah.
We've talked about it a few times, but I was back at my small hometown for a golf tournament. I took Roberto back with me. As we were driving back to the suburbs, we're like, some small towns here might not know what they have in their liquor store.
Yeah.
And we went into a bunch and saw absolutely nothing. And then we went into Sam's, and he had the first thing we saw was Will It Rye on the end cap.
Yeah.
Which is which especially back then was not findable.
Yeah.
And he had it on an end cap, not behind the counter.
Still, you go to Benny's or liquor bar, you still
and he had a great whiskey selection. He had great stuff behind the counter, visible, and then he had a tasting room with all the Pappies and things.
Yeah.
And we sat there and we talked to him a little bit, not a ton, but
we made friends with him.
We talked to him. He probably remembered us after that. And then I remember like a day or two later, Roberto's like, we need to go back down in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then that's when Jake, you came down and met Sam.
Yeah, you guys texted me about it, and you were like, holy shit, this guy's got all this stuff. And I was like, oh, that's cool. It's like we went down there. I remember walking in and seeing the Will It Rye on the like out on the end cap. And I was like, this guy has the good shit on the shelf. I was like, this is bananas. And I was like, I took one immediately. Oh, I was like, I'm grabbing this.
Yeah. You go to a liquor bar, you still can't find it.
I remember looking at you guys while he was like helping someone at the register. I was like, is it rude if I take two? Like, it's like, how many can I take?
I think then, and especially nowadays with bourbon, the hard to find stuff, good luck.
Oh, yeah.
Best of luck. If you don't want to spend a shit ton of money, best of luck to you.
I mean, it's honestly, I think since we've started, it's gotten worse. I think. Which
way
is
worse.
Surprising.
Because back when we started doing this,
I thought it was going to get
on
better.
aftermarket, Pappy 12 was around $1,000, and now it's around $1,800.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're going to be 10 months in by the time this airs.
Yeah,
like it's insane.
I mean, Weller 12 is going for $500 online.
What's happened in the market is kind of ridiculous.
I thought it was going to be better by now, but no. I mean, it's getting worse.
But like that, and we've talked about this a lot. Is if you want the hard to find stuff, find a liquor store that's good, and make a relationship.
Yeah.
And our relationship with Sam has yielded us a lot of things we never thought we would have or see. It's yielded me my Pappy 12. You got a couple Pappy 10s.
I got 2 10s.
You got your Taylor rye.
I've got
Well, you go ahead, Bush.
I've got all kinds of things. The 1776 bourbon and rye barrel
Weller
proofs
12s,
that
I
are
mean,
unbelievable.
oh, yeah. You name it.
Weller 12, the Lock, Stock, and Barrel 21, Pendleton 20,
The Buffalo Koshers, like
and
even
a bunch
smaller
of-
stuff like
Red
bunch of
Breast
blends,
21, all kinds of things
Yeah.
that he gets that
your
are just.
blue spot.
I mean,
Yo,
we-
the blue
We
spots.
pretty much get
Yes.
a blends bottle out of it.
Every time we go down there,
yeah.
we'll ask, and for you guys, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, have we spent a lot of money with our liquor store? Yes.
Yeah, we have.
Have we also spent a lot of time and relationship building with our liquor store?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Well, I
because
mean,
we
every
left
time we go there, we taste things.
Yeah.
We
hang-
buy normal shelf things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many just normal off the shelf things
Right.
I bought from him, as well as the like allocated things. Like probably at least an even ratio, if not more, off the shelf things than
Right.
allocated. You know.
To me, that's when this became more of a fun thing to a very serious
Oh,
thing
yeah.
because all of a sudden we had into stuff we thought we would never be able to find.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, I gotta say, my Dallas guy. That's when I started getting it.
Well, yeah, you had
Yeah.
a guy.
I have, but
And you said we have to find a guy, and we had
Yeah.
spent months looking for
exactly
somebody.
what we talked about.
And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, we
we
randomly
found
stumble
him.
across
Yeah.
the guy
Yeah.
that's our in.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
our monthly trip to Sam's
Oh,
is
yeah.
like my favorite part of the
Yeah,
month.
it is.
It's
I
so
love
much
I
fun.
love doing that.
I love going and talking to Sam, which we still need to get him on the show.
Yeah.
It's just
Hanging out
like
with them.
schedules have been tough, but
Hey,
Sitting at
maybe
his bar.
you know what? Maybe your birthday weekend,
yeah, maybe we can get him down here.
because I think he was thinking
We
about
could
coming up
probably
for
come
that,
down here.
Yeah, we can talk to him about that.
and you'll be in town.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're gonna try to come down here for come up.
Yeah,
You'll
you'll
be in town.
Good point.
I'm gonna try. Get your ass down
Great
here.
point. November 12th.
But yeah,
no,
I mean, like, you know, Sam is so great.
he is.
And he's honest to God, one of the most transparent
Yeah, he
liquor
is.
store owners I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, he is.
And it's fantastic because he's like, yeah, could I sell Pappy 12
Yeah.
for $2,000?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But
Yeah.
like, I think that's morally apprehensible.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to do it. Like, you know, like, yes, some stuff is marked up a little bit, but like within reason.
Right.
And
Like, you know, it's like at the end of the day, like you can't find this shit anywhere. Like I'll pay the extra $20 or $30 for
Yeah.
it. Like, you know.
And
like,
I was reading an article the other day about liquor stores, and they're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't right now, because
Yeah.
they're seeing what stuff goes on for the aftermarket, and they're small liquor stores. They don't get a lot. Mm-hmm. And I mean,
Yeah.
besides their normal Fireball, their Smirnoffs, their things like that.
There's
And-
Stolies.
They're Stolies. And it's like, hey, I had this bottle of Blanton's that, people are, and Sam has said this, people will offer $250 for.
Yeah.
And again, these
well,
are small liquor
there's
stores.
always gonna be some dipshit
Yeah.
that wanders in there
Oh yeah.
and
is like, hey, I'll write you a blank
Yeah,
check
I'll
for
just-
this right now.
Right.
You know, because
Exactly.
there are people
Yeah.
who will go to every liquor store they can possibly find to
And try to get all
find
the
a bottle of
allocations, yeah.
Blanton's.
Yeah.
And it's like
And that's what Sam talks about. He talks about it all the time.
all the time.
He's like,
Yeah.
You like if you counted how many people come in here every single day asking
And just
for Blanton's.
Specifically ask him for Blanton's.
right. Just
Like,
like,
don't
nope,
even
you're
buy
not gonna get
anything. They're just like,
You're
hey,
not
you
gonna
got
get it.
Blanton's back there
And,
somewhere?
and he has it where if you look, you can find it.
Well, I
It's-
mean, you
it's-
can see
well,
them. He's not gonna give them to you.
He's
But you
yeah,
can see 'em.
he has them there so people know. Like it's not on a shelf. Like you have to look a little
Yeah.
bit. It's down. I'm not gonna say a secret spot, but
I was
he's
gonna
got
say,
it.
You're revealing all the Sam.
He's
secrets right
got
now.
it.
Sam's
he's got
gonna stop
it.
listening to this shit.
He's got it hidden a little bit, but if you look really hard, you can find it. And people say that, and God bless Sam. He said people will offer him 200, 250.
yeah,
Like,
he'll
no,
tell them
says,
to
nope.
go away.
No,
Don't
I'll
do it.
sell it to my regulars
Right.
for a lot lower price. And the price he sells us to, he's marked it up a little bit, but again, it's like a
No, I mean,
$20
it's-
markup for
it's-
something
But
that you can't
it's
find.
It's
far
marked up, but it's not market price because
it's far it's far more reasonable than
Right, it
anywhere
really
else you can
is,
find
yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it
you know,
is.
unless a store is actually selling it at actual MSRP. But like
your big chains, you'll find it at if you're lucky.
the big chains only are going to be selling it,
and
a lot of times you won't even know that they had it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like I mean that's the thing. Like at a Benny's or whatever, like you have to go there and ask them every week. Yeah. Hey, you got Blaine's? Hey, you got Blaine's? And maybe one week they'll be like, oh yeah, you want it for $45? Right. Okay, here. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, cool. But like,
right.
Like
it's that,
but you also have to be spending money there for them to be like, yeah, sure, we'll give it to you.
And to be fair, we've spent money at Sam's.
Right. I mean,
for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, part of that was because we love Sam. Part of that was hopefully we can get some of this stuff.
Right. Well, you got to think too, like what's the small liquor store's customer base versus Benny's customer base? Right. Are you in the top 5% at Benny's customer base? No. Probably not. Probably not. Yeah. Are you at Sam's? Probably. I mean, we are for sure. I think.
But for me, that relationship we built early on is what really changed this relationship, because all of a sudden we had free access, not free access, but we had access.
I wish it was free.
Well, I mean, like I can message Sam and be like, hey, are you going to get this in? Yeah. And he'll let me know. Yeah. And he'll be honest. He'll be like,
one of the first ones to know.
He'll be like, yes, I'm going to get this. Like, come in this day, and I'll have it. And I'll be like, cool, I'll be there. Or he'll be like, hey, like, I'm not going to get it.
I don't get it. Or,
or like he'll say, hey, I'm not going to get it. I have a friend that has extra bottles.
Yeah. Right.
And
yeah.
He'll get them. That's how I got my 2 Pappies.
Or he'll be like, hey, I don't have this, but I got this thing. Yeah. Like, you might be interested in this. You might be this. And I'll be like, I've never heard of that. And he'll be like, well, you should know.
I'm still trying to get Sam to get mellow corn. He does not have mellow corn.
Yeah, he doesn't have mellow corn.
I actually asked him the last time we went. I go, Sam, how come you don't have mellow corn? He's like, I don't know what that is. And it's true. A lot of people don't know what it is.
He doesn't have
it. I love Sam so much more because of this.
I asked him, like,
does it come with a plastic twist-off cap? Yep. Nope, I don't have it.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And he does not have mellow corn on the shelf.
I don't think he has any twist-off caps. Fireball, maybe.
Couple, yeah.
Well, that style of whiskey. His bourbon
his bourbon shelf is pretty
specifically. It's like, do you even get yellow corn? Like, nope. I don't.
Well, does he have his old granddad? Doesn't he?
I've never,
or maybe not.
I've never seen old granddad.
Maybe not.
Yeah. But until he gets mellow corn,
that's for me.
You're boycotting.
Yeah.
That's where this became a hobby to a.
Yeah, that's a good.
It's a good genesis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what really changed this. We love Sam. You'll be gone. Me and Jake will continue to visit Sam. Sam, if you're listening,
I'll visit him too. I'm coming.
Well, it's just more good stuff for us.
Yeah, I mean, because the problem with going to Sam's is
Roberto just takes shit straight out of your hand.
Roberto will vulture anything.
Well, the problem with Sam is that every time I went, I spent $1,000.
Well, to be fair, the other problem with Sam is when we're like,
Dan goes, "Hey, you have an Elijah barrel proof?" And Sam will be like, "Oh yeah, I have a few." He'll pull one out, be handing it to Dan, and Roberto will be like, "Oh, what is that? Barrel proof?" and snatch it right.
That's the way to go. That's a strategy. You have to have a strategy to go to Sam's. The strategy to Sam's.
And me and Dan look at each other like, "What the fuck?"
Roberto's strategy at Sam's is let Dan be the keen eye and find all the stuff he has hidden. Let Dan ask about it, and then as Sam gives it to him, I will vulture.
Which is funny because the Weller 12, you asked about Weller 12, and I got the Weller 12, which, I get to, we exchanged with Jay. But you asked about Weller 12, and he's like, you want Weller 12? I'll give it to you. And I ended up with it. And, again, I gave it to Jay. That's fine.
Well, because you just bought the one I got the day earlier. It was a little extra money than what Sam sold it.
Oh, true.
Because Sam sold it basically retail.
Yeah.
I had one at $85 that you bought the day before.
Which is retail $65, I think. For Weller 12.
I thought it was lower than that.
Lower, maybe? Yeah.
I thought it was around 50 for Weller 12.
I think it's like 60, 60.
Yeah, I thought it's like 60, 65.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
But I mean, like,
it's a 12-year-old fucking weird bourbon from Buffalo Trace.
Yeah, I mean, Sam is so good.
Yeah.
He's done so much for us.
I think that's when we really got... I mean, I completely agree with you.
$40.
Oh, shit.
What?
average shelf price is $250. The retail MSRP is $40.
Which
Oh,
it's ridiculous.
okay. But I mean, like, I love Sam. You know, like I can be like, hey, I've heard this thing is coming out. Can you hold it for me if you get it? He's like, yeah, absolutely.
I got it. Yeah.
And that's where we've got our unicorns and our not unicorns, but very tough to find.
That's where
bottles.
I got most
Yeah.
of my unicorns too.
Most of them, yeah.
That's been what's really propelled our whiskey love. We will continue to love Sam. We'll continue to visit him.
I mean, his tasting bar is so good too. He's got everything.
You name it.
You know, like
He's got Old Fitzgerald 15. Holy shit.
yeah. I mean, I've tasted stuff
When
there.
was the last
That
time you found an Old
I'll probably
Fitzgerald
never
bottle?
get to buy.
Yeah, like the Old
you know,
Forester birthday.
Old
Yeah.
Forester, yeah.
awesome, absolutely phenomenal.
No, his shelf. I mean, I have a friggin' Weller single barrel. I've never tasted it until I went to Sam.
Oh yeah,
You know, it's great. Yeah, that's.
you know, so that just makes you a stingy Scrooge.
We'll open it before I.
That's
go.
what you
It's
should
fine.
have opened tonight.
You've already packed it, you dick. Well, speaking
Well,
of,
so anyway, let's dive into the bourbon now that we're an hour in.
I mean, do we need to talk about it that much? It's Pappy 10. If you can
it's
find
Pappy
it,
10.
drink it. If you, all right, let's go with this, right?
I can go with some tones. It's fine.
If you saw it at a bar and they were charging you by the pour, what would you pay for Pappy 10 for a pour?
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, that's a tough question because I have 2 bottles.
If you were at a bar and they said
And you didn't have it.
you didn't have a bottle, and they said
that's where
okay,
I was going.
fair.
Yeah, you don't have
You
it.
don't have a bottle.
You've never tried it.
You see old Rip. You see this beautiful old Rip guy in the woods.
How many ounces am I getting?
Ounce and a half pour.
Ounce and a half, 1.5 ounces.
Standard pour.
Standard pour shot.
Shit, man. I probably wouldn't pay more than $20 is probably the most.
Yeah, I'd say like 15 to 18.
Yeah.
I'd say 20, 25.
Yeah.
If you've never,
That's
if you've never
high.
tried Pappy, it's worth it. It's
I mean,
It's gonna be
yeah, at
hard.
the end of the day, I probably.
at the end of the day.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, $20 is probably what
Well,
you're
like
paying
20,
for it.
25, I think I'd pay for Pappy 12.
Yeah.
Well,
The
we're-
10 is-
We're lucky. In the northwest suburbs, as far as we are, we can get it for 25 a pour. Sam sells it for 25 a pour at Marengo.
That's a good
If you're
point,
in a
yeah.
more than likely, if you're going to see this at a bar, it's going to be in a big city.
I'd bump that up a couple bucks
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, I'd say maybe in the $20, $25 range as well.
It sounds like a lot for an ounce and a half. It's a good.
But it's good.
Oh, it's a
It's
great
good.
fucking-
You won't regret it.
If you want to taste it, I think it's worth the
Because
money.
if to get your hands on this bottle right now on like wooden cork
Hey,
and
we're
stuff,
recording the podcast. I'll call you back.
it's $1,100 to $1,200.
Okay. I'll call you back. We're recording the podcast. Bye. Okay. That's the first on the podcast.
Yeah, hard to find.
We're just gonna
Ignore
that.
Roberto.
It's almost impossible to find. If you're gonna find a bottle, unless you have a really good relationship, you're spending $1,100 to $1,200.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, I think yeah, putting it in that context, 20 to 25, I think is pretty reasonable to expect for a pour of this.
Right.
Over 25, I think I'd be a little hesitant. Not that it's not great, because it is great.
Yeah, but at that point, you should not pay that much.
But I mean, I'd hunt for a cheaper pour. At that
Cheaper
point.
pour or Pappy 12 for about $5 or $10 more.
Yeah.
Which this is a great freaking bourbon. This
Yeah,
is
like
a
this
great
is
whiskey.
this is like near barrel proof.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I on a 10-year, I don't know what barrel proof probably is, maybe 110. So you're pretty close anyway.
This is smooth and
Yeah, the Pappy 12 is what, 94 proof, I want to say.
I don't know how
It's
else to
lower
describe
it's
it.
lower than this
Yeah.
for sure. I want to say it's around
Yeah.
94, 95, something like that. And then maybe 92.
The
but,
only way I can describe this is
This is 107.
107, right.
So I think this is the only higher proof Pappy
yeah.
that exists. So awesome option if you're a higher
it is.
proof
Holy crap,
individual.
It's so good. I mean, there's no ethanol. It's all flavor. It's
Yeah.
I can't read it on this picture, but it's 45 point something, so it's just over 90.
90-ish.
freaking good.
Yeah. So
90.4 proof.
okay. So yeah, I mean this is the I'm 99% sure this is the highest proof
Oh yeah.
Van Winkle you can find. It's fantastic. you get all of those like deep notes
Yeah, you do.
on an older
I
bourbon.
mean, this is fucking great.
Yeah, so good.
What else can you say?
You get the oak, the leather, the vanilla, the
wheat.
caramel. The wheat comes through a little bit.
So good.
It's smooth as hell.
Caramel, oak. You said oak, leather. Mash 1 or 2? 1.
This
It
is the
one.
weeded.
This is the weeded mash.
Weeded mash.
Learn your Buffalo Trace.
I'm trying. Hold on. I've been drinking for like 6 or 7 hours.
It's a weeded bourbon.
I'm getting there.
It's the same as Weller.
I know it is.
Jesus.
But yeah, I mean,
I'm getting there. I promise. I've been drinking for 7 hours straight.
yeah, I mean, this might end up being in our unicorn series. But I mean,
I mean, we didn't talk about the bourbon much. That's fine.
Yeah, we did.
It's a Pappy. It's
at
Pappy
the end of the day,
fantastic.
it's a path.
Pappy has a name
I
for
just
a
finished
reason.
it, and it is fantastic.
It's there's hype, there's scarcity, there's way high aftermarket prices for a reason.
Yeah.
Pappy Van Winkle, 10, 12, 15, 18, 23, rye, whatever.
Or rye.
They've made an unbelievable product. There's a reason why it goes for so much aftermarket. There's not much to say about it. Like that's the problem with this. It's like, no, this is Pappy 10. Enjoy.
Yeah, the Van Winkle line is top notch
Get your
across
friends
the
and
board.
family and open a bottle.
Yeah, it's, get your siblings to throw in on a bottle and buy one.
it. And drink
That or surprise your loved ones and get a bottle
Yeah.
and drink with your loved ones.
Yeah,
And Roberto, even though you're moving to Texas,
We're still gonna do.
you're
this
still going to be a
podcast.
loved one with us. We're going to miss you.
not
We're going to wish you the best of luck. We're not doing the cheers right now.
Oh, okay.
We're giving you a final farewell.
Thank you.
good riddance.
Good riddance.
I move on Wednesday.
Something unpredictable, but in the end, it's right. I hope you had the time of your life.
I hope you have the time of your life. I do it all for the Anuki. That's hilarious. Is the chili one there?
No, there's no chili one here, is there?
No.
Damn
But
it,
no,
I should've
Roberto,
said
we're gonna miss you when you're in Texas. We're glad we're still gonna
that. I'm
keep this
coming
going.
back. Yeah, I'm coming back.
We'll see each other quite a bit. We'll come down. We're doing the Texas Trail next year.
Yeah, we are.
I think we can call it the Texas Trail, not the.
No, it's actually called the Texas Bourbon Trail.
Well, you'll call it the Texas Trail.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I'll call it Texas Trail. Yeah.
We're glad we could share some
We should
Pappy.
do that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did Kentucky this year. I think
we
next
gotta
year
do
we'll try and do Texas.
TX, Balcones.
We might have to do it in the winter, so it won't be like 1,000,000 degrees. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not coming there. in
November.
summer.
November.
I love you, Roberto, but I will not see you in San Antonio if it's over 90 degrees.
Which is still 90 degrees right now.
So I'll never see you in San
It's
Antonio.
hot. It's still pretty hot. No,
But-
this is fun, dude. This is great. I'm enjoying it. We're
yeah, I
gonna
mean, this
do-
is like, if you ever have the chance to get a Van Winkle at retail, no fucking brainer, pick it up.
Get it. Get it.
I mean, I'm probably preaching to the choir at this point, but
Yeah.
I would even double the price at this point is still a value. So
Triple,
get it.
quadruple the price is about.
Yeah, even
Triple
quadruple,
still a
get
value.
it.
Four times is $400, and this goes for over $1,000 right now.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
absolutely
no, it's
get
holy
it.
shit.
If you can trade for it or
yeah.
something like that, absolutely
Find
try
a guy
and
in a
get
black
this.
back alley that has a garden hose.
I would do that. I was like, how much?
I mean,
Okay, perfect.
try it at a bar for sure. It's worth the price.
Yeah, it is.
We talked about that. So yeah, do what you can,
What a
taste
beautiful
it.
Bottle.
It's fantastic.
Thanks to Dan for bringing the.
Yeah,
Pappy
thanks to
10.
Dan for killing
I
this
really
one.
enjoyed killing this bottle, dude.
We should do a bottle kill photo for Generay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Man.
Roberto, this will be the last time for a while we can clink glasses and say cheers.
Well, did we talk about the Instagrams or no?
Oh, well, we're on Instagram.
We're on Instagram, Bourbon Matters, Facebook, Bourbon Matters. We're on podcast, Bourbon Matters. Thanks.
Yeah, find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. Listen to us on YouTube. Watch us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, rate, review, all that bullshit.
And then drink Pappy 10.
And drink Pappy 10, you peasants.
Roberto, best of travels.
Thank
We'll
you,
see you
man.
soon.
I'm going to need it.